Welcome everybody to the show. I'm Charlie Bengal, the CEO of Remax Allegiance, also a Tom Ferry coach, and my co-host is Amy Lassen, an associate broker with Remax Properties out of Colorado Springs, and also a Tom Ferry coach. We were hired at the same time. So last show, you heard from me more than Amy. I was going over some of the highlights from an event that I was at. And this week, we're going to be swapping roles a bit. I think she's going to be doing most of the talking. We want to talk today about the importance of focusing on one thing, and that all of us are all over the place. And what could we, if we picked one thing to master, where would that leave us, right? What would that allow us to accomplish instead of the shiny penny syndrome or squirrel, right? You know, we've all heard that expression. So where do you want to take?
Well, I think
give me an intro. Give me an intro.
Well, I think there's a basic place to start, right? Real estate is actually not overly complicated. I guess that's going to sound not true. Real estate can be pretty straightforward, right? You need to learn the contracts. You need to know your market. You need to have relationships with a lot of people. You need to promote yourself. You need to follow through.
Right.
Right. There you go. There's real estate. Get after it.
Yep.
Now, we tend to make it really complicated, and there's a couple of reasons. One is, I think, because it's not that hard to get started in real estate. You get your real estate license, you jump in, right? It wasn't 12 years of schooling, right? It wasn't a year-long internship or anything. You just jumped in. And so now we're looking for ways to maybe buy our way out of doing the hard work of actually learning how to do our job. Right? So maybe if I pay for this widget or that software, or maybe if I just buy leads, that'll fix all my problem.
Sure.
So I think a lot of us have that, that squirrel, it's so easy to be distracted by something that we think is the magic bean, right?
Sure.
So-and-so's killing it with this, so-and-so else is killing it with this. I should do what everyone does.
Right.
And then we take it on. I try farming for a month. I try Facebook for 2 weeks.
Right.
I call 4 of my clients. I call 2 expireds. I knock on 1 FSBO. None of it's working. Now I'm crabby.
Trying to be a jack of all trades, and then it results in a master of none.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Years ago, I complained to my mother when I was a relative newbie that I had driven, and remember, I'm in Colorado, I had driven a California buyer from one end of the county to the other, you know, back and forth for a whole weekend, and he never really did buy a house. And I was all over like washboard roads. Like I saw parts of Colorado I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And she said, remind me again, how much did your real estate license cost? And how long did it take you to get it?
Right.
You know, she said, you're in a profession where you could earn as much as a doctor or a lawyer.
Yep.
Thank them for the free education.
Right.
And I have been grateful ever since for every interaction I ever have with a warm prospect, right?
Right.
So the thing of it is, in our desperate attempt to just make this feel easier, to buy our way out of our situation, I think we spread ourselves too thin, right?
Yeah.
We overcommit to 18 different sources and hope one of them will be simple. And the truth is, none of them are going to be simple. You're going to have to work really hard to grow your skill at anything you take on. So what if?
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, but how would you help our audience kind of narrow the focus into what would be that one thing?
Well, okay, so we could, depending on whether you're new or not, right? Those listening, and I think most of the people listening are not brand new.
Right.
So I think you could ask yourself a pretty authentic question. What is the one thing, if I were to master it, fix it, change it, accomplish it by the end of this year, would make the biggest difference in my life or my business? What is that one thing, right? And if you could, and you'll feel it, you'll have this, oh crap, I know what it is. Yep. It's that one. It's, I need to clean up my database. I need to call every single one of my past clients. I need to apologize for having been out of touch, and I need to throw my first event.
Yes.
Like, I know that's what it is. Okay, then let's figure it out.
Yep.
And instead, you're going to get overwhelmed and intimidated and decide to call expireds.
Right.
Right? So if you could figure out for yourself what that one thing is, maybe for some of us, we've kind of fallen into a rut with listings. We wait for the phone to ring.
Yep. Wish, wait, and hope. Wish, wait, and hope.
Right. Well, when my clients are ready to move, they'll call me. Right. I don't have as many listings as I'd like, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Well, that's not true. Do you know that there's somebody who got their license a year ago who closed 35 deals in your market last year? Where did they get those transactions? Right? They got them out of the mouth of some other agent that they used to be the past client of, right?
Yes, good point. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So we all have an opportunity to recognize what it is and get after it. So I think let's use listings as our example, okay?
Okay, sure.
I wanted to do better this year. I want to take more listings. I want to close them faster. I want to promote them better. I want to get more raving fans out of my clients and stronger referrals. What if you could guarantee yourself an extra listing and an extra buyer lead out of every single closed listing by improving your process, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot, right?
Yep.
Heck with buying Zillow leads, right?
Right.
So then we look at, let's identify it, right? What is the part of your listing skill that needs to be refined, right? And each one of us is going to be different.
Yep.
So when was the last time you looked at your RE/MAX Allegiance listing presentation, right? Have you read every single page? Have you come up with a clever way of explaining it to the client?
Right. Are you using a formal listing presentation?
Absolutely. Do you need a pre-listing process?
Right.
You have a beautiful bulleted email with resources that you send.
Mm-hmm.
You have a, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday video that you send. What could you do to refine and improve your listing process, right?
Sure.
What are the things that you say? Are you prepared with the statistics? Are you current right now? Do you know exactly the pace of the market and are you prepared to explain it to any seller who would call you, right?
And are you asking enough questions before you actually meet with that seller?
Absolutely. So for those of you who have not taken RE/MAX Allegiance pre-listing or listing presentation classes, we go through all of those elements.
Sure.
But yes, what is your pre-listing process, including your questionnaire and the homework that you assign in advance,
right?
The reviews that you send, the previews of your marketing? What is all that process and how could you refine it, right?
Yeah, totally. And some of this is covered in the RE/MAX Allegiance listing book that's available to our associates. But I just, I've been talking to so many people lately about there is a beauty in mastering your scripts and objection handlers. And I think we fall into the trap of just doing it the way that we're used to doing it.
Right.
And if we ask enough questions on the front end before we meet with that seller, it's going to solve so many issues. We're not going to walk into the house and be surprised.
No.
And I was talking to an agent the other day who was preparing CMAs. He was going to the houses on the listing presentations, and the condition of the house was not what he expected. So, and it was so different. He was blowing the presentations because he knew his CMAs were not good, because he was basing it on one thing, and here and the condition is here. And he was getting so frazzled, he wasn't even building rapport with the sellers, right? Because he walked in and he realized, oh my gosh, I have a huge problem. And then you're already on your heels, and trying to recover from that is hard. And it was because he was not asking enough questions when he was on the phone with them before he went over and met with them, right? So I know you have questions, good questions to ask in your class. We both have scripts. So if there's somebody watching that isn't sure what to ask, reach out to me, Charles Bengal at remax.net. And I'm happy to send you the scripts, because the more we know what we're getting ourselves into before we physically get there, it helps us build the CMA. It helps us prepare for what the house is going to look like. It helps us to know what the motivation of the seller is. It helps us to know what price they want, right? Go in knowing all of this, so we're not caught flat-footed. And it comes down to asking the right questions and not being afraid to go deeper. We've talked about that before. So anyway, that's a bit of a tangent, but I just think it's so important on a listing to ask enough questions.
Right. I think that's excellent. So here's the thing I want to impress upon everyone listening. Maybe that sounds a little overwhelming. Yeah, I don't have a questionnaire. No, I'm not skilled at that. No, I do kind of wing it and hope they just remember me from before and like me. So if you were to choose listing as your one thing, right? I know that if I mastered my listing process, it would make the biggest difference in my business this year. I would get my time back, right? I would rather double my listings than double my time in the car with buyers,
right?
Not to be unkind.
Yep.
But if you could identify why this is important to you and how it could change your life and your business, now let's break down the things that you just said, Charlie, and find a place for them on your calendar. Okay? How hard would it be to reach out to Charlie and get the questionnaire and fix that problem right now? Don't feel overwhelmed because you don't have one. He just offered to share.
Right.
So,
right.
Number one, that will take 10 seconds. Got it, right? Now, where will it live? Do you have a Google document? Do you have a folder? Where do you keep your listing resources, okay? Then what can be the thing that you focus on tomorrow? Can you block out a certain amount of time in your day or your week for mastering this skill? And I have a friend, he and his father were business partners, and they had quarterly mastery goals every single quarter, and they each picked something else.
Nice. Okay.
So, the one guy wanted to get way better at following up with online leads, and the other one wanted to master Instagram. And they had 3 months. Sprint, right? So it was, watching YouTube videos, finding out things from other agents, checking in at their weekly team meetings with their own progress. But they had a quarter to figure it out. And in any given year, the two of them as a team would master 8 new skills, right? As opposed to...
I was going to say, and they built time in their calendar to do this, right?
Absolutely.
You have to commit time to do this stuff. So anyway.
Absolutely. So where could you put it, right? And here's the thing, you have to have started with, this matters to me. And if I accomplish this one thing, it would absolutely make a big difference, right? You have to care about it enough to not let things hijack that time slot.
Sure.
This is the challenge for most of us.
Right, absolutely.
I had an agent at my brokerage ask for my time. Now, I'm a paid coach. I'm a paid trainer. I have a lot to offer. And she asked me to meet her coffee and give her my time. And I agreed to do that. And she canceled on me at the last minute because she has one transaction in process in her entire career. And it was too consuming for her to be able to get her schedule in order to make it to our appointment.
Wow. Yeah.
She doesn't realize how much she's shooting herself in the foot by not controlling her time. But we're all in our own ways. I mean, that's an extreme example of someone who has very little going on and still can't control her time. But we're all guilty of that. So if you commit to refining your listing process, you know that it will make a huge difference in your life and your career. Make the time sacred and don't make excuses.
I like it.
Treat it like the appointment that it is.
Right. It's an appointment with your future, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what if somebody wants to see a house, right? 9 o'clock every single day from 9 to 9:30, I review my listing presentation for this week. And somebody says, I have to see a house at 9. What do I do? Right?
Right.
This is the thing. I had someone argue with me in a class once. They said, we live our entire careers waiting for someone to say, show me this house. I said, I strongly disagree. I said, how many of you have jumped in the car last minute and showed a house and not had that person close? Like,
well, yeah, everybody.
Percentage.
Right.
It was like 90+% don't close. And I think that
the others were lying, by the way, but go on.
Well, no, but 90+% of those opportunities aren't opportunities.
Right.
Right. So don't forsake your future for that squirrely moment, right? So if somebody says, I have to see this property at 9 and no other time will do, seriously? I would ask, does 1 o'clock work for you?
Right.
Are you checking we have a chat.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, well, Chris Logan is saying don't close, 90% don't even write. And he's right? 90% of those people may never write an offer. 90+% of those people certainly don't write an offer on that particular house.
Right. And you forsake your schedule.
Right.
You forsake your commitment for what you think is an easier opportunity. And I think that's the thing. Right. It's easier to run show a house than to stick with the discipline of growing your skill.
Well, and what if we had a different kind of appointment, right? So let's say we're doing reviews of our listing presentations, practicing, et cetera, from 9 to 9:30. What if the appointment was our kid's graduation at 9 o'clock that day? And somebody said, I need to see a house 9 o'clock tomorrow, I have to do it. Would we skip graduation? Of course not.
Right.
What if we had a dentist appointment, right? You schedule those 4 months in advance now, right? Just a cleaning.
Yeah.
You don't cancel that, right? Even
Right.
a haircut. Would we cancel a haircut for no?
Wow.
Probably not. But the thinking is, well, I'm practicing this every day, so I can skip a day.
Yeah.
Right. And you fall into that trap of it's okay to just skip a day. And the problem is when you have that mentality, you end up skipping a lot of days. Right.
Yes,
And then
that's right.
Eventually you can't catch up. And that one thing is not, what you wanted it to be. I mean, it comes to, we talk a lot about hour of power and this and that. And what if you monetized, how much is that hour of practice worth? If the goal is to get, I think we said at the beginning of the call, one additional listing and one additional sale a year, or at least opportunities, right? Let's say we closed 12 or even 6, right? So that's another, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, $80,000. How much is that per half hour of practice, right? So I'm getting really analytical on you and on our audience.
Yes.
But monetizing some of these activities can be super powerful, right? I mean, I have a client who, I mean, he's a top producer in Connecticut, right? And he was not making his calls. And we did the math. And his hour of power is worth, I think it's $2,000. And he's coming up with excuses as to why he can't do it. I'm like, what else are you doing that is worth $2,000 an hour? And then he finally got it, right? This is not an analytical guy, super driven, right? Not really a number guy, but then he finally got it. I'm like, for every day you don't do this, you lose $2,000. Yeah, you can skip a day here or there because you can make that up. But if it becomes a habit, you can never make it up.
No.
Right? I tell people like hour of power, right? If you get too far behind, you will never, if you're supposed to have 5 conversations a day and you're 2 months behind, you will never be able to make it up.
Right.
It's impossible, right? You just won't be able to. So I would challenge our audience that we're so quick to skip the hour of power, to skip the listing practice, to skip the one thing we really want to work on because somebody wants to see a house or because the home inspection has to be at that time. Honestly, if it were a more important appointment that maybe didn't come up every day, would we be willing to have that home inspection then? Would we be willing to skip that future appointment with ourselves? So if it were a high school graduation for our kid, guess what? We wouldn't go show that house.
Right.
If it were our, brother getting married, you know what? I'm just going to skip the wedding and go show that house. Of course we wouldn't. So, maybe these are extreme examples, but, the focus of this is one thing. It's not working on 20 things. It's working on one thing that can produce up to 2 additional transactions a month, which is 24 deals, which if that were to happen, I mean, you're talking tons of money in most of our markets, right?
Right.
That's $300,000.
That's a living. Yeah.
So how many of those can you skip?
But I think you're making an excellent point that this is really a perspective. This is mindset.
It's a mindset. I was just going to say that. It's a mindset.
Okay. I really do think it's a perspective because I had 5 closings in May and I went to 3 conferences.
Right. I remember that.
I was not there for 4 of my closings.
Yeah.
And I still feel a little bad about it. I had no choice.
Right.
I had things get bumped. I had things get pushed.
Yep.
These things closed, some of them a month later than they were supposed to. There was no way I could have controlled this.
Yep.
I paid someone else to cover for me and he did a great job.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But if I had not had my back in a corner, would I have just come up with some sort of an excuse? Right. I had to figure it out.
Right.
So I did.
Yep.
I did. And it went well. And my clients are not disappointed with me.
Right.
So when you say, this is important to me, this has to happen, you will find a way.
Yes.
So the reason I like the idea of the one thing is it's so much easier to bring yourself back to center when you have one. There is no center when you have 28.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I only have to do 2,800 things every single day. Right?
Right.
It's overwhelming. It dilutes your focus. I think most people now know that psychological studies teach us there is no such thing as multitasking.
Right.
We're switching.
And those of us that think that we're good at it, we're not.
No, and it's just not a thing. Like they've
Right.
tested the brain. I'm not simultaneously talking to you and writing a paper.
Right. Right.
You know, I'm switching. For
Yep.
half a second I'm doing that, for half a second
Yep.
I'm doing this.
Yep.
And I'm less effective. The
Right.
reason they talk about something being zen, right? Like moving stones or
Mm-hmm.
hanging laundry. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, you get into this zen because you're not doing anything else but that one thing.
Yep.
It's calming, right? It helps you to focus.
Sure.
So I really want everyone to take us seriously. If you were to take on one thing, whatever it is, mastering your call reluctance to the people who actually like you.
Right.
What
Right.
if you spent 90 days
Yes.
getting good at calling back all those people who loved you when you helped them buy that house, right? Let's do whatever it takes to get over that call reluctance.
Yep.
Talk to a buddy, talk to 10 different agents about what they say, watch some YouTube videos,
Mm-hmm.
practice on the ones who like you the best, and work your way up.
Right.
But set a discipline to get better. So that's what I would say is identify what it is,
Yep.
commit to doing it for a certain amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a 30-day sprint or a 90-day sprint. And I think a quarter is a great focus, okay?
Yes. Yes.
A month is not a lot of time to learn a
Mhm.
skill that
Yep.
maybe you've been avoiding. Then identify your resources. What can you do to gather around you the things that are going to really help take you that extra mile, right?
Okay. Yep.
Whether it's Remax Allegiance resources, buddies that you have,
Yep.
maybe you have a coach, YouTube, my
Right.
goodness.
Right. Right.
There are incredible resources just online, but don't do the bunny trail thing. No Celine Dion videos, sorry.
Right.
You know,
Right.
stay focused,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Set a timer and then get out, right? Don't fall down the bunny trail.
Yep.
And then how will you hold yourself accountable to
I was
do
just going to say, what about accountability?
right? How can you, once you've made this commitment, how can you hold yourself accountable? I think that this journey can be a little bit lonely,
Sure.
right?
So is it an accountability partner at the office? Is it a coach? I'm happy to hold anybody accountable, right? I mean, you're going to have to text me after you've done what you're going to do. And
Mhm.
if you don't, you'll hear from me.
Mhm.
A spouse, significant other, best friend, right? Hey, here's a goal that I have. It's really important to me. I need you to help hold me accountable.
Yeah,
We actually have at Remax Allegiance an accountability group that meets 8:35
nice.
every Monday morning, right? And it's some of my Tom Ferry people and it's some Remax Allegiance people. We are on and off in 20 minutes because
Great.
it's very simple. You are giving me the number of real estate conversations you want to have in that week.
Mhm.
And you're giving me one other wildly important goal. That's it. We used to do this long list of stuff and I'd rip my hair out because people would get on the call and you think they got it done? No, they didn't. So it's number of real estate conversations where you're asking for the business, asking for a referral, right? And number two is your other wildly important goal for the week. So
Mhm.
anybody watching this can join us 8:35 a.m. every Monday, unless there is a holiday. We did not meet last week, but every other Monday. And arlingtonroom.com. That's the link. It's a Zoom room. On at 8:35, we're off in usually 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes it turns into a little bit of a mastermind, which isn't a bad thing. So I always tell people calendar it for 30 minutes at the most and we're good. People love it, right? And then you're holding yourself accountable to yourself,
Mhm.
your family,
Mhm.
your coach in this case, me,
Mhm.
and the group, right? So, you don't want to get on the call every week and say, I didn't do what I said, right? It gets a little old. And then eventually people call you out on it, like me. Why are you on every week? So anyway, we weren't planning on bringing that up, but if you're struggling with accountability,
Mhm.
who's going to be your accountability partner or whatever, feel free to join the group. Ask your spouse, join the group, ask somebody at the office,
Mhm.
right? Team up. There are people, everybody has goals, right? Walk up to somebody at the coffee pot and say, hey, you know what? We haven't talked about goals recently. What's your goal? You could say, what's your goal for the third quarter? Because it's almost the third quarter, if you can believe it, right? Third quarter starts in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And if the answer is, you know what? I haven't thought about that. Think about one. And it's a quarterly goal, right? 12-week year. It's a great book, right? The annual
Yeah.
goals, especially in real estate.
Yeah.
You know what? Oh, I got another month to handle that. Oh, I got another month. I'm good, right? And then suddenly it's October and you're at 30% of your sales goal for the year and you're really upset with yourself.
Right.
No,
That's really tough to
yeah, so I thought
reel
that
back in.
I thought the show was really good. And then lastly, what about putting the one thing,
Hmm.
like front and center? Is it on a sticky note on your computer? Is it on your vision board? Do you
Yep.
write it out every morning? We talk about our powerful morning routine and the miracle morning
Yes.
and all this stuff. And I'm always encouraging everybody that I talk to write out your income goal every day, not look at it, write it out. And then in this case, would you agree? Write out the one thing that you want to get accomplished, that you want to focus on every day. There is something that is powerful about writing it down as opposed to just looking at it.
Right.
Visual is better than nothing, right? A lot of
Yes.
us have these goals, but we don't ever even look at them. They're just
Right.
here, right? So we talk about visualizing the goals mentally, but also physically in front of you. And then I think it's also so important to write them out every morning. As
Okay,
part of
you
that.
are bringing up something so important, Charlie. I think that we would have been remiss if we had not talked about this,
Okay,
and
good.
that is setting your reticular activator.
Yes. Why
If
don't you
I
tell people what that
say,
is?
okay, your reticular activator helps you to filter out the noise in your universe, right? I have
Right.
lived in the same house for 18 years. I drive down the same main streets all
Mm-hmm.
the time. Do I know every single business along that street? No!
Right.
I manage to have my head be somewhere else when I'm
Yep.
driving down the street.
Sure.
Ask me if there's a painting business down there. I have no idea.
Right.
There
Right.
probably is,
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
So when I have my blinders on, which I have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we could process all sound, all thoughts,
Yep.
all input all the time, our brain would fry.
Right.
Okay. So we filter for sanity.
Yep.
The problem is we're also filtering out things that could be helpful to us. Now, if I decided to buy a Subaru and I started doing research on Subarus, the next time I get in my car and drive down the street, what are the chances that 8 of the cars
Right.
at the traffic light will all be Subarus?
How about that?
Where did they come from?
Yep.
They weren't there yesterday,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
this is what happens when you set a quarterly intention to kill it with any particular thing. And we'll stick with our listings example. If I decide I'm going to become the world's best listing agent,
Yep.
and I write it down every day and I speak it into being and I look for opportunities to become better, what are the chances that listing opportunities are just going to start showing up at traffic lights?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Tom Ferry talks about this all the time. He shares the story about cars. I mean, all the time, and it's so true, right? Think about this. Challenge yourself. Think about what you want your next car to be, right? And unless it's a Rolls Royce or something, right? And when you're driving around tonight, going home from the office or whatever, have that in mind. You know what? I want my next car to be a Honda Civic. And then just pay attention, right? Just have that in your mind as you're driving home, and you are going to pick out all these Civics. It really is something. So I think I want to, I'd like to challenge those that are watching the show live. I know who you are. Your names are in front of me. Send to me what your one thing is, right? Send to me what your one thing is that you want to focus on. And we have some administrative folks that are also watching today that are not in sales. Well, guess what? Send to me what your one thing is, right? Whether it's RE/MAX Allegiance related, or maybe your one thing is you want to work out more, or you want to lose a certain amount of weight. Send to me what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Bengal at remax.net. Please send them to me so I don't have to reach out to you, because I do know who you are and I will reach out. We have a lot of people that watch the show on replay.
Sure.
So I would encourage all those people to also reach out to me, Charles Bengal at remax.net. Let me know what that one thing is going to be for the third quarter, because the third quarter is here, right? Today is what? The 4th, right? We are 3.5 weeks from the third quarter, whether we want it or not. We are a month away from fireworks and hot dogs, which is shocking to me, but we are, right? So last minute thoughts, Amy. We're a couple minutes over, but last minute thoughts to wrap up.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like we nailed it. Pick your one thing, write it down, commit to staying focused on it. Don't give up if it doesn't work in 3 days.
Sure.
That was not the commitment. Don't be a squirrely squirrel, right? So find some buddies. There's probably somebody at your office who also needs to hone their listing skill, right? Get 4 people together, do some guided study halls, right? Get together and practice, share resources, stick with it. And if nobody else comes alongside you, that's okay. Don't give up. 90 days. I think 90 days is a great sprint.
Yep. And we all know that if your focus is listings, listing agents control the market. You're going to have more leads coming in. I mean, it's just going to be so important for your business if you're able to get more listings. So I think that example is a good one. So I'm glad you brought that one up. So with that, we will see you all in a couple weeks. Reach out if you have any questions. And thanks as always, Amy. It's always good to see you.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.